colleagues, we will start in 2 minutes. Thank you for joining in time. I have already sent the reminder, so let's wait for a couple of minutes and then we will start.
इसमें वीडियो वैसे वैसे ही भेज देता हूँ हुआ नहीं अभी तक स्टार्ट वैसे अरे यार
Okay, I think we can start. We have more than 20 people, so people will join in time soon. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all colleagues and friends across from Asia and the Pacific. My name is Jaipal. I am handling the Asia network activity, and with me, my colleague Noim is also here, who is handling the Pacific network activity. And we both are delighted to welcome you to our second webinar in this series of this technical expert review readiness in the Asia and the Pacific, essential preparation and what could be the best regional insight that we can get from the experts. So last week we had a tremendous session focusing on the BTR preparation and the submission process, what the difficulties, what are the experience of the countries, those who have submitted the BTR. And our colleagues from several countries also generously shared their experience and insight. So today we are tackling what come next after this submission of the BTR, our transparency journey. The next step is the technical expert review process, which for many of us might seem like a final exam after the semester exam of all the hard work. So our today's session is designed to demystify the technical expert review process, and we try to provide a practical guidance on how to prepare effectively. Uh, think of this as a behind the scene tour of what happened uh, when you hit that submit button on the BTR. And today we will explore the mandate, objective, procedures, everything related to the review, as well as some practical tips on how to organize your national teams, national team of expert stakeholder, and preparing the supporting documentation for this review. And the great thing of the today's session is that we have a tremendous speaker today. So we have incredibly fortunate to have a distinguished panel of the expert with us today, and we will hear insight from the two best international lead reviewer, Mr. Sandro Federici and Ms. Sekai Negreji from Zimbabwe. Both of us will share their experience, perspective of the reviewer side of the table, and I can say if I combine both of them, then I think more than 70, 80 countries experience here in our today's. And if we combine this with GSP, then I can say that 100 countries experience are here in today's webinar. So please take advantage of the today's session, clear your everything, all the doubts related to the technical expert review process. Sandro, you all I think know who is a seasoned professional with everything related to the UNFCCC and IPCC. And I think the most person who can done the review of any part of your BTR, any sector of the BTR. And joining him, we also have a Sekai, who's from the you can say from the developing country or developed country, we both have a both lead reviewer. Sekai has also the vast experience of more than 25 countries of review and still active and most of the IPCC work and also in CCC, you heard this name. So we are really delighted to both of them have agreed to present here and share their experience today. And additionally, we also have Ms. Raufa from Maldives, who has recently completed the technical expert review process and who is a coordinator of the BTR of the Maldives. So we will also listen from her that what is the review experience and how was the review. We already heard from the her and the first webinar that how they have prepared even a very small, considering the small island countries. So I encourage all of you to activate, participate today in our question and answer discussion and all this session. And this is your best opportunity to ask the all the burning questions that keep you at night about this review process. So whether it is about your team or understanding the timeline or whatever you have, please do not hesitate to take advantage of this today's webinar. So let's dive in and see what is the technical expert review together and uh, get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered to engage deeply with this climate transition journey of this transparency. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Sandro and Sekai. And in the first part, I will cover the some basic about the technical expert review. What is the technical expert review? What is the timeline? What is the modality? What is the MPG paras related to the technical expert review? I will share my screen. We have a one small presentation. The presentation is basically from the UNFCCC Secretariat. We have also invited them, but due to time constraint, they are not able to join us today, but they have shared their very good informative presentation, which I will go through. Let me make it a full screen. So hope it is visible to everyone. So in the agenda, I will to go through this technical expert review process. We will try to cover the what is the ETF process, what is the guideline, what is the scope, what is the review plan and the format, what is the role and expectation from the UNFCCC and from the country side. In after that, we will maybe take one expert session with Sandro as he has some also another commitment to attend. So maybe after that we will go through Sandro's experience and listen his experience about everything about the review, and then we will take some Mentimeter kind of a group photo. So also try to adjust your camera after that, and we will also run one Mentimeter session also to understand. We have only a 4 or 5 questions to understand. Then we will again continue. we also have some slide about how you can become a part of this technical expert review, how you can become expert from your country and participated in this important exercise. And then we will go to Sekai, and then we go to Maldives, and we also have from the Singapore. Actually, I will say the experience of the Singapore also. So that's the our today's plan. So let me quickly go through this about technical expert review process, and then I will go to the Sandro for the his experience. So ETF, you all, half of them you have already submitted. Some of the Pacific are now in a near deadline or nearly prepared mode, and now they are planning to submit the BTR. So after that, the next step is the technical expert review process. And the last and the final FMCP, where we present our BTR in front of the all developed and developing country, maybe in a co-op or the June session. So this is just for you to understand that BTR, we have a two mandatory thing, inventory and the NDC. All others are the voluntary. For the most, we all are the developing countries, small island, and so we have some flexibility. Under the technical expert review, as I mentioned, two mandatory things will be reviewed in detail. The adaptation and other voluntary thing, it's up to you whether we would like to improve, we would like to go through review or not. And the idea is to identify the improvement, identify the capacity building needs. So we can improve through BTR cycle. Maybe our second, third, or fourth, or fifth BTR will be a complete package compared to the end, much more advanced compared to the first BTR that we are submitting. And the last will be FMCP. This is just a simple presentation where we online present, virtually or physically present in the co-op or the June session, and the all countries have a chance to ask some questions or anything related to the our BTR journey. So the paras, MPG para, which are most important for the in terms of the technical expert review, which is para number 147 and 148. The most important thing for also for all developing and small island and least developed country, that this review process is a facilitative, non-intrusive, non-punitive manner, and it is respectful of the national sovereignty, and the secretariat or any expert do want to burden you for this review process. The main idea is to identify the capacity building needs, suggest the improvement for the each sections, specifically for the all the mandatory things, and also for some encouragement for the other things that we have reported. And what to be reviewed, what not to be reviewed. The left part you can see inventory and the NDC, two mandatory things. If you report the support provided, which are voluntary for the all the developing country, but if you, then it is also to be reviewed. And adaptation, it is voluntary. If you would like to, then UNFCCC Secretariat will also review. The important part is what is not to be reviewed. So what kind of NDC description indicator you choose, why you choose this, what is your baseline, what is your percentage, what is the adequacy of your domestic action, what kind of support you have provided, what is needed, what is received. Any kind of a question will not be asked during the technical expert review process. That's the, you can say, great transparency process. And of course, all the developing country, we have a flexibility in terms of specific provisions which are mentioned in the MPGs. So the format, we have two modes of the review process. One is the centralized review and in-country review. Most of the parties will go through the in-country review, but the LACs and seeds can choose whether they can go to in-country review or centralized review. But the in-country review is a little bit, I can say, more effective. But of course, Sandro and Sekai will tell us more about that. How we can in-country review will be more effective or the centralized review. I have one slide also to compare, so we will go in that detail also. This is from the UNFCCC that this is status on the 16 March, but I think as of now we have already crossed the 100. So that's a good news for all of us that even considering the different situation, different national circumstances, different capacity to report, we all have tried to submit something, at least in form of the BTR, and try to provide something. All of the countries are, of course, have a different situation. In the Asia Pacific, we have 18, but I hope that will increase to 25 or more than 25 in this 2025. So that's the just status from the UNFCCC Secretariat. And Secretariat also mentioned that they are planning to complete the 50 to 60 TER in this year. Of course, because you know that this process is not only the 5 days of the in-country review. There are 2 weeks, 2 months before, 2 months after. So this is, we can say, around 4 to 5 months process to complete the one technical expert review process. So that's a good commendable work from the Secretariat that they are planning to complete 50 to 60 technical expert review in 2025. And the remaining one they will do also in the 2026 before the second BTR will come. And they also mentioned that the 31st December, the deadline, final deadline, they saw so many BTRs was submitted before the deadline. So that is also the good work from the countries all over the world. And what is their plan? So Secretary has mentioned that for 2020 plan, 2025 plan, they have covered the 50 to 60 countries and through 3 batches. The first batches and second batches are, first batch is already completed, a 9 review schedule and complete successfully. Currently, they are in a second batch. So Maldives is a part of the second batch and recently, and they have completed their in-country review. Singapore will be go through a review in the next week. So this is also in a second batch. And in the third batch, from September to October, they will conduct the last cycle of 2025. How will country will chosen from this review? So first submitted, first review. So from the Asia Pacific, I think Singapore and Maldives have submitted very early in 2024. So both of them have already now, one is completed and one will be completed in short time. But those countries who have submitted after that, you will be pick up by the first submitted, first review decision of the, this is the style of the UNFCCC, and also the uh, cover all these countries through this technical expert review process. And they have also mentioned that as of now, 5 developing countries uses the flexibility provision to request a centralized review format in the light of their capacity, because we have a flexibility provision available in the MPG. Instead of going for in-country, you can also choose a centralized review. So in the centralized review, 3, 4, or 5 countries will be reviewed together in the one place, maybe Bonn or any other UNFCCC secretariat place. Preparing for the review, uh, you see this on the PTR portal that some countries are still resubmitting their PTR, maybe because of the improvement or maybe some anything. But if you are going through a review, you have only a 8 weeks deadline. So before the 8 week, if you submit the any revision or any kind of resubmission of your any CRT, CTF or text part or whatever, this is the deadline. Before that, otherwise it will be considered as additional information provided during the review. Response to the technical expert review question, basically once the UNFCCC Secretary composed the technical expert review team. Some people gender balance, some developed countries, some developing countries, some are the lead reviewer. And then they analyze your BTR, then they send the question to the the team, the country team. And then you have a chance to provide the answer to the all this question through a one portal within a 2-3 weeks time. There is also some flexibility also. You can ask a little bit 1 week or more time, which is also mentioned in the MPG. Composition, how the secretariat do this composition of the technical expert review team, those who are coming to your country or doing a centralized review. First thing is the availability of the all these people, those who are nominated in the roster of expert, who are available, who can join for you in country or maybe a centralized. Try to prepare the team with the criteria of the MPG. As I mentioned, some people from developing, gender balance, everything, to also see the people who are in the TER has not any conflict of interest with the country. And then the check the availability. We will the secretariat send email to the all the expert that whether you are available for this kind of review and specifically particular dates for this uh, what you say in country review. So then the official invitation letter. This is the first step from the secretariat to compose the technical expert review team for one country. And this process finalized the 10 weeks before the in-country review. So if your in-country review on starting from the 1st May, then this all the process will be completed in February itself. So what is the role and responsibility? This is important for you. Under the TERT, there is a party. So you are the party and the experts. So there are different experts for the different sectors of the inventory, NDC, everything. There is a secretariat who handle this all the technical expert review process, and there is a lead reviewer. So lead reviewer is kind of the person, 1 or 2 person who handle the everything about the technical expert review process with the help of also the secretariat. So you can say the lead reviewer and secretariat handle the everything of this review process from starting to end. Secretariat handle everything about the logistic and all part, and lead reviewer mostly focus on the technical things, how the based review can be done for the country with the help of all the people, those who are part of the technical expert review team. And the good thing is we have a two lead reviewer. One is from developing and one from develop today. So we will listen more from them compared to see this all kind of PPTs. And just to these are 3 slides about the in-country and the centralized. Most of things are the same, but from the centralized name, from the name you can understand, we are not going for a in-country in the centralized. So there is a no face-to-face discussion. Everything will be a virtually, and there is a team. The technical expert review team will be sitting physically at one place, but the country team will be attend virtually. So that's the main difference between the in-country and the centralized review. And these are the some step. This is a step that we are doing for the review week. Before the review week means before going to the country. Then during the review week, either we are in country or either we are on a centralized place. Then the last, after the completing the review, we also have some step to coordinate. So these steps are mostly common because after leaving the country, the expert are sitting at their place and also the lead reviewer, and then mostly virtual discussion to finalize the review report of the country's BTR. Okay, so this is the last slide and the few slide. I also have some few slide about this, how to become expert and also some questions and everything, but I will take it later. Before that, if you have some question here for this presentation, maybe we can spend 2-3 minutes here. Otherwise, I would like to go through the our main experts of the highlights of the today's webinar, Sandro and Sekai. So maybe I will invite Sandro first. But if you have any question, I am happy to answer. I have also put some try to put some guiding question, but it is okay if the our lead reviewer would like to go directly or indirectly, whatever they want to say. They are more expert compared to all of us together. So this is just a small points, but yeah, if there is any question, I would happy to answer. Otherwise, I can go to the Sandro. Okay, so let me. So please join me in giving a
Yeah,
warm
now you
welcome
see
to
me.
Sandro. You all have seen this space maybe in a June session or COP or IPCC or UNFCCC, whatever. If you are in
Somewhere.
a transparency, you know this person. So this person don't know it's an introduction. And without wasting time, I will welcome him. And thank you so much, Sandro, for joining the today's webinar in your very busy schedule.
Yeah,
We are very happy to see you and delighted to hear anything related to the BTR technical expert review, everything. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining.
thank you, Jaipal. But I guess
Voice
the
is
best.
not coming.
you don't hear me?
We can see your lip, but
Maybe now. Wait a
Yeah,
moment.
I can hear you. I can hear you
Yeah,
from
okay.
the
not
Now
side.
yet.
Now? Do you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm not sure what others are. I can hear you.
Jaipal, they may hear me.
No. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now?
Okay, okay. Go. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Sandra.
Okay. Yeah. So
Thank you.
I say the best is to answer their question, but I have just two comments that you say the experience. Now, the goal, the review system was set to ensure that the convention has data, information that are unbiased and certain, let's say, precise as far as practicable. These are the two. And on this concept, the good practice guidelines have been built. So an estimate for the inventory is okay, so far as is not biased. Biased means that there is a systematic error. So systematic errors are not allowed. I don't know your familiarity with the greenhouse gas inventories. I guess you are all familiar. And maybe with the Aforu sector, hopefully. Because the Aforu sector is one that is more prone because we have the famous gain and loss approach for the carbon stock changes. So for emissions removal from forest land, for instance, which is a big issue. We count the gains and the losses. If you don't count all the gains and all the losses, then you have a biased estimate. So you have a systematic error. And this is a problem because biased error cannot be adjusted. I mean, they don't cancel out. Random error when you sum up estimates from the lowest possible level of at which the estimate is produced to get a total global value, the random errors tend to cancel out. So in one case, somebody underestimate, somebody else overestimate, but for the theory of error propagation, those errors, so far as we add up small estimates to a total, the errors reduces. But for the systematic errors, this is not the case. So the reviewer should firstly look if there is any bias in the information. And to do that, you will see most of the issues that you find in a review is about transparency. Because to identify a bias, you need to have certainty. The reviewer cannot say maybe this is biased. This is not the approach. The reviewer need to be sure that there is a bias. And need also, this is for the convention. Then for the party, if the reviewer find a bias, need to help the country to solve the problem, the bias. So need to provide some guidance, which are not prescriptive. The country may remove the bias doing anything else that works well, but is in the task of the reviewer to help the country. So the review has these two aspects. First, to ensure that the quality of the information provided to the convention, and second, to support the countries. So there are a lot of discussion, I also see the presentation, the reviewer should not be intrusive, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. But at the end, the review should be done in the good faith. It's based, the principle is based on both sides on the good faith. The reviewer shall never consider that the country is doing something and not appropriate for whatever else. It just need to look at the information, at the mathematical correctness of the information. Anything else, you see, the policy, all this stuff is not relevant for the review. And the country, on the other hand, need to understand that the reviewer is trying to be of help. So if his questions look strange, if his comments looks wrong, you need to have patience. First, there could be a misunderstanding, and you will see that the main problem of a review is the misunderstanding between the two parties. And this is why it's very important to have the in-country review. In the in-country review, the misunderstanding can be solved because you immediately understand if the other is, or you are clear enough. The misunderstanding very often is because the reviewer, in 95% of the cases, is not like me, is not an English mother tongue. So he may write something that is not so clear. But also the reader, in 95% of the cases, is not an English mother tongue. He may misunderstood what is written. And also writing, when I write, I may do some sentence. I cannot go for a long explanation. And during a talk, you also see if the other part is understanding what you are saying, if you are clear enough and then correct. So the in-country review is really the way to be helpful. The centralized review, the desk review are not so helpful. Are helpful at the level when the country has a well-established system and then there are very few technical issues, not so important. But at the beginning, to have the in-country review is a big help. So, see, as Jaipal said, 5 countries decided not to go for that. Of course, we respect everybody. There are for sure good reasons. But in this way, they lose an important component which is the help. A review made through emails is much less helpful than a review made talking with the people for a week. I was doing the QA of the UNFCCC. Possibly some of you participate to that. And those were very helpful because we were going in the countries having a talk. And the common goal was to do something better for the country, nothing else. Again, also the reviewer, the goal is just to help the country. The reviewer doesn't get I don't know, a remuneration for creating problem, finding problem. No, the reviewer look at there, because he's committed to help the country, try to do his best, her best to help. Sometimes the reviewer may misunderstand, and sometimes may also do an error because the reviewer are not perfect. Are expected to be very qualified, and usually they are, but reading just a report is not so easy to understand how the calculation was actually done. That's why a lot is about transparency. And that's why I don't know if you are probably you write the reports. The main goal for your professional work will be to improve the clarity of the information provided, which means provide each and every information needed to replicate your where possible. When you use a model, of course, this is not, but the assumptions and the background data, those need to be explained well. That's what in the review mostly will be about trying to enhance the common understanding of what has been done. And if something is found that is incorrect, is good for the country, because the country will increase the quality of its inventory. Without looking if it's more removal, less removal, more emission, less emission, because you will see the review is not done in a conservative way. The review result in some cases in decreasing the emissions, in some cases in increasing the emissions, vice versa with the removals, because you look at the error, you are not looking, okay, this error is not in the interest of, I mean, is a damage of the country. The country is underestimating the removals, don't care because is a problem. No, if you are underestimating the removal, I need to tell you that is underestimation, and also suggest how to correct it. So this is what I want to say. Should be a process, the review made in good faith, and try to get the most from it. Really is helpful. The review is helpful. In country, of course, is more helpful than, but you won't have every year in country because there is no money and no people to do it. But try to get this opportunity. When you don't have a country, be as much as proactive as possible with the reviewer online. Through email, because you may get some good indications. Yeah. Thank you. Then I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sandro. And I think Sandro has done around 40 or 50 reviews from so many years. So many BURs, national communications, NIR, and now
Yeah,
for the
I did.
BTR. So
I did all,
so if
including Red Plus.
yeah, and he is now with the IPCC TFI. So for him, that all the sector is the same and everything is the same. So if you have any question, please, the floor is open for you. Before we receive any question, I also have one or two questions that Sandro, how do you see this technical expert review process in terms of identify the capacity building needs specifically for the country and how they can improve in the
Yeah.
subsequent future BTRs?
Yes, indeed. This you see in an in-country review, it's possible to identify these capacity needs because you have the time to do that. Of course, the centralized should do the same. The reviewer will do, but it's more difficult there to understand if there is a problem of a capacity or you find an error. So this error is the country is doing something wrong because there is no capacity or because it's an error. Of course, the country then is critical that the country provide his or feedback in terms of capacity needs. And of course, the reviewer is open to the review process is open to take on board all the capacity needs expressed by the country. But it is more without an interaction in an in-country review is quite difficult for a reviewer saying the country is not capable to do something because we cannot do that. I mean, I cannot judge it. So
Yeah,
so is really in a centralized review, in a desk review, this is a task that is up to the country to describe which are his capacity needs. The reviewer may suggest something maybe, but the risk is to be also offensive with the country because you think you are not capable to do something. No, it was an error. It's capable.
yeah, definitely agree. And I think in the BTR now they have an improvement plan and everything, the new chapters. So basically, it is a capacity building needs. So if they
Yes.
are, yeah, once they are preparing the BTR, they are automatically know that these are the areas where we have to improve in the future. So this is
Yeah.
also the
Yeah, and maybe during the review you find some problem and the country realize that this is a problem because we don't know how to do, and then they add new capacity needs. Yeah.
okay. So last question: any kind of overarching piece of advice to the developing countries from your experience of so many years?
See, the main message is to all, especially to inventory compilers, but also the others, to the BTR compilers, be reviewers. Because reviewing
Yeah,
the others, you understand and you learn so much. And with time, it takes time to build experience, but that experience will be extremely useful for your work. And also you will meet a lot of people, which is always nice. But
yeah. I personally also feel that even one country experience is good enough. So when you added 2, 3, 4, 5 countries, of course you increase your
uh,
knowledge drastically. I think we have one question from Noim, my colleague. Please, Noim.
Thanks, Japal, and thanks, Sandra. Just a question to kind of get some clarity that when the countries prepared the BTR, I'm talking on behalf of the Pacific Island countries. Usually they submit it to the UNEP, and then UNEP asks the technical team to review it. So and they get the feedback. So when you come to a country when you are reviewing the the BTR under the TR process, do you take into account those previous reviews and review comments, how they are addressing or they have addressed? Thank you.
Yeah. Now the UNEP is an internal process, so that's I don't think this is into the BTR. But in terms of UNFCCC review, yes, the following review take into account the previous comments, how the country addressed and sometimes it may also correct, no? Because thanks to the fact that the country is providing more information, thanks to the fact the country made some recalculation, so the reviewer may also improve previous comments that were maybe because again there is a big problem of understanding and be aware of that between the reviewer that just read the report and the country that did knows much more, and some of this information is indeed needed to the reviewer to understand clearly whether there is a bias or not, because again the main goal is the bias. Then we may also provide suggestions how to improve the quality of information in terms to meaning to make it those more precise. But to that you need information, and not always. I mean, it's a continuous. You will have a review for the rest of your life. Every review will add on the others. You will never be in a perfect situation. Okay, this is done. I mean, the report is never a job done. It's always a job in ongoing, and you are expected to improve year by year. And also as a reviewer, this is what I do, but all the reviewers do. When I do the review, I focus on those main elements that I see, because the review is limited, not in the scope, but in the time. So I cannot provide each single comments to whatever I see that can be improved. So I prioritize. And because I prioritize, the next review may go in areas that I didn't cover because I had no time, and so on. So this is a process that is made to be stepwise but never ending. You will keep improving, and the review will keep improving and looking at new aspects that were not considered before. Sometimes because the information was not enough or not enough clear. But yes, so it's important to look at the previous review when you start your review. This is not the case for this BTR round because it's the first. So
Yeah. But I think after the first BTR review, you have to definitely need to be improved in the second BTR. Not even 100%, and at least whatever you can. So because if you not, then every BTR you will receive the same improvement suggestions and everything.
That's why Jaipal now is needed. Also developing countries have a system. A system means people that daily work for 2 years to produce the report.
Yeah.
But 2 years. They cannot work on a spot basis for some months and then disappear and then go back, because in this way there is no progress.
Yeah, of course, sustainability will be lost. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So if there's any burning question, then we are happy to answer. Otherwise, we will say thank you so much to the
Thank you,
Sandro.
Jaipal. In 10 minutes I will leave. So I will stay other 10 minutes, but then I need to leave. Ciao.
Thank you.
Ciao, Segai.
Yeah, and we have your colleague Sekai is also here, and same like Sandro, Sekai is also not need introduction. She is well versatile in this review process in the UNFCCC IPCC. She also work in the IPCC TFI. So I think we are very fortunate to have you here, both Sandro and Sekai, and I will give stage to the Sekai. So please share your experience, your insight, everything about this review process. You have participated in so many countries, so many small islands, least developed, everything in Africa, Asia. So the floor is yours, Sekai, please. You have to unmute.
I should say good morning first from Harare.
Yeah.
I basically have a brief presentation, which I've just seen some of the slides maybe there, so I'll skip them. I saw them in your introduction. Let me share. Can I share or you share from your end? Can I share from my end?
Yeah, yes, you can also share it.
Okay, let me see. Sure. Okay, can you see it?
Not yet. Maybe in a few seconds.
Okay.
Okay, not coming. Maybe I can share, so you can really speak.
Okay. Okay, so it's not showing?
Not yet. I have shared. Are you able to see my screen?
Okay, let me unshare from my end then. Okay. I can't see it yet. Okay.
Okay, let me share. You can continue.
Oh.
I will change the slide.
Okay. I think I will really start by saying I agree with everything that Sandro has said, and also thank you to Jaya for giving the context in terms of the reporting requirements and the extent of the reviews that are undertaken under the Paris Agreement. In my presentation, I'll talk about the sort of perspectives from a reviewer's experience. So I hope my presentation will show in a minute.
It is knowing. Can you confirm it is visible to you?
Yes, Sekai, I can see Jepal's presentation, so he has shared already. You can continue.
Okay, then I'm gonna have to do it from my end. You can all see it. Hello?
Yeah, I think the participant can see my screen because I have shared. So you can continue to give me talk.
Okay. Just in terms of overview, I was going to talk about the ETF process overview and key decisions, but I see that Jaya has covered a bit of that. So I'll focus on the last 4 bullets, basically talking about the perspective from a review process and from me as an experienced reviewer, but also to give you some insights on what makes a successful review experience, any practical advice to countries who are preparing their first BTR, and then observations we have made over the years in terms of the common challenges that countries are facing and how this can be addressed. And I think Sandro has touched upon that already in saying become reviewers. And then a little bit about the reflections on how the outcomes from the technical expert review process benefits countries. So my first slide was really going to talk about the ETF process, basically for you to understand the reporting context, the review, and the multilateral consideration. So I won't go into detail on that because I think Jaya's presentation just highlighted. So what we want to focus on is the technical expert review itself. What does this process do? As a reviewer, it's very important to first understand the key decisions. Now it's no longer just the reviewers understanding what the key decisions are in terms of reporting, but in terms of review as well. You will see on this slide, I have highlighted the 4 key decisions that are important for you as compilers, not of just greenhouse gas inventories, but as people who are putting together the BTR chapters, whether it's greenhouse gas inventories, whether it's national circumstances chapter, or it's NDC tracking, it's finance, and so on. It's very important to understand the main key decisions. In this case, for example, decision 18/CMA1, that and its annex, which are the MPGs, what we call the Paris Agreement rulebook, if you like, that outlines what should be reported. So your should, your shall, and may provisions. So it's very important to understand that as you are putting together your BTRs, you understand the relevant reporting provisions, but you also understand the other decisions which are operationalizing, for example, the MPGs, which is your decision 5/CMA3. I would also, I still can't say it. Okay, so don't worry, I'll continue on this one. The first bullet I wanted to talk about are the perspectives on the review process from an experienced reviewer standpoint. So what does this mean? When we talk about the process, why is it important that you, as countries that are preparing their first BTRs, you also have an understanding of the review process? I think Jaya has highlighted already in his presentation, so I won't dwell on these, but it's very important to understand that the ETF itself is guided by certain principles, which Jaya highlighted in his presentation, and that the MPGs, as you know, require all parties to submit every BTRs every 2 years, and the first BTRs have already been submitted. These BTRs, once they are submitted to the UNSCC, they are subject to a technical expert review, and I think Jaya highlighted the different stages, the roles and responsibilities. What is important for you to understand is that what does the technical expert review process do? It basically reviews the consistency of the reported information with the MPGs. So in other words, the TARE process assesses whether your BTR submission is consistent with the MPGs. This also includes an evaluation of information provided, whether it complies with the 5 key reporting principles of the MPGs, which is your transparency, accuracy, completeness, consistency, and comparability, what is commonly known as the TAC principles. When you submit your BTR, we will also consider the party's implementation and achievement of its NDC. So what does this mean? It also means that the technical expert review team will assess the information you have provided in both the narrative part, but also the tabular format regarding the tracking of progress of implementing and achieving your NDCs. So when you submit your BTR, the technical expert review teams will assess the information in the BTR against the reporting provisions of the MPGs, whether you have managed to fulfill the shall, the should, and the may requirements. So in other words, it's important also to understand that you as developing countries have been granted flexibility in choosing, for example, I think the type of NDC, the indicators that you can use to track your progress. Therefore, the technical expert review assessment is informed by the accounting guidance, which has been adopted by the accounting approaches, which the parties, you as parties select. And this is part of the broader concept of the Paris Agreement, Article 13 of the Paris Agreement. On my second slide, still talking about perspectives, it's important that when you are submitting your BTRs, you understand what the shall requirement says and what the should reporting provisions say, and link these provisions with the review process. So, for example, the MPGs have a mix of mandatory, which are your shall requirements, which means you must do, and encouragements, which are should, and optional reporting provisions, they may. So, for example, I think Sandro also highlighted the importance of the greenhouse gas inventory, for example. So if you are reporting on your national inventory for anthropogenic emissions and by sources and things, this is the shall requirement. Parties now have to provide a greenhouse gas inventory. And also, you then compare this with the previous reporting requirements where it was not mandatory now for developing countries to produce an inventory. But now it's mandatory that as part of your BTR, there should be a chapter there on the greenhouse gas inventory. Now, another point I wanted to mention, when you submit your BTR, it's very important that you understand that the TARE process makes use of what we call checklists. These checklists are tools that are designed to facilitate the technical expert review team assessment of the information that you have provided in your BTR, and to check its consistency again with the MPGs in accordance to paragraph 146A of the MPGs. I think this is probably what I wanted to share in terms of perspectives on the review process itself and what you as countries that are submitting need to understand. In terms of the second bullet on insights of what makes a successful review experience, first of all, I would say that it's very important that as you're submitting your BTR, you understand the procedures and timelines. For example, whether it's going to be in-country review, centralized review, and desk reviews. This may be a bit small for you to read from where you are, but I think you have this presentation. So for you to start the participation in the TER process, of course, each party will have to agree the dates of the TER at least 14 weeks before the technical expert review week. And then, of course, at least 10 weeks prior to the TER, the Secretariat will compose, if you like, a team of technical experts. And then at least 4 weeks prior to the TER week, again, the team should be basically send questions to you as country. So the expectation is that once you have submitted your TER, the review process starts. And then within 2 weeks of the submitting your BTR, developing countries parties who need flexibility are encouraged to provide the information within 3 weeks of that request. And then at the end of the review week, again, the team, the technical expert team shall communicate with the party with draft areas of improvement. And again, in the context of developing countries, we'll also have capacity building needs identified. As I'm going to be doing my first technical expert review for Finland, which is a developed country. Normally, they identify areas of improvement. But for developing countries, you identify both areas of improvement and capacity building needs. In some cases, these are already identified in your BTR. I think I heard Jaya say that in some cases, your areas of improvement are also a means of identifying your capacity building needs. And then within 2 months of the TER week, again, the technical expert team will basically come up with I can't see it from here now, it's a bit too small. A draft of your TER report, and through the Secretariat send it to you as a party. So it's important that you understand the timelines. And I think, like Sandro said, it's very important to have a system in place, because this is no longer possible to manage this process in terms of the technical expert review with ad hoc arrangements. So basically, it also means that countries now need to strengthen their institutional arrangements, but also strengthen their technical capacity to be able to answer the questions from the review team, for example, on time within those prescribed deadlines. And then it may take up to 1 month from the draft TER report. Developing countries that need flexibility have the flexibility again to provide comments within 3 months of receipt of the draft report. And then within 1 month of the comments, again, the technical expert team will prepare the final draft version of the TER report. So it's important that as you are submitting your BTRs, you are also preparing yourselves on how to answer the questions that are coming from the technical expert teams, either during the review week. Again, I think, like Sandro said, in country, I think is usually the best, because you have an opportunity to interact with the teams of technical experts, but also it gives you an opportunity to share your experience with directly with the teams that are doing the reviews. Just still talking about what makes a successful review experience, I would also say preparedness by the parties. Preparedness means that you as a party need to understand what the technical expert review teams are looking for in your BTR submissions. Now, again, this means that you now need to have a good understanding of the MPGs reporting provisions by thematic areas. Of course, you'll have within your national teams experts that are focusing on the preparation, for example, of the national circumstances chapter, experts that are preparing the greenhouse gas inventory, the mitigation, the projections, and so on. So it's very important to have an understanding, but also that preparedness to make sure that you are in a position to answer any questions that may arise. And again, increasingly, this has been happening in the previous process where, for example, for developing countries, we had thematic checklists that were used. And these thematic checklists are based on the reporting provisions in the MPGs. So you should, you may, across the thematic areas. These help you to facilitate the preparation of your general reporting information in your BTR. I don't know how many of you here have been involved in the preparation of the BURs. So for example, we had a thematic checklist by these different areas that were in the decisions that were used to report, for example, the BUR. In a similar fashion, we also have thematic checklists that are based on the reporting provisions in the MPGs, where we do a quick assessment of how far the party has adhered to the reporting principles of the MPGs. So if it's a shall, we have to make sure if a party has submitted and they have not been able to fulfill a shall provisions, in our assessment, we make a recommendation for that party to ensure that they submit this information in their future or subsequent BTR. If it's a may, if it's a should provision, it will come as an encouragement for you to gather that information or to gather that data and submit it in your next BTR. Another point I wanted to mention here, when I'm still talking about an insight on what makes your successful review experience, it's very important to understand that what are the objectives of the TER, to understand the objectives of the TER. And I think Sandro highlighted very well at the beginning. We need to ensure transparency is achieved. And how do we actually assess that transparency is achieved when you submit your BTR? The experts that are doing the analysis will need to clearly understand why and how the party has reported its results or its conclusion. This requires that parties provide very clear, factual, objective information, including the sources, the assumptions, and the methodologies that are used. Now, another key point here is to ensure completeness, to ensure that no mandatory reporting element or category in the context of greenhouse gas inventory, for example, has been excluded. So in the greenhouse gas context, it also means completeness also means geographical coverage within the scope of that national inventory. So if a party cannot completely provide these mandatory elements, then they should make sure that they explain the reason for the omission or the reason for that partial reporting. And then if I talk about the next bullet here, which is basically what practical advice can I share with you as countries that are preparing their first BTR, their first technical expert review team? The first important thing I'll say is that please understand the scope of the TER. I think Jaya touched upon this in his presentation. When we say understand the scope of the TER, it's important to have these bullets in mind. Review of the, when we are basically doing the expert review, we look at consistency of the information you have submitted with the MPGs. We also look at the consideration of the party's implementation and achievement of its NDC, consideration of the party's support provided, and if applicable, again, in some cases, if for developing countries, we look at the support that has been received, identification of areas of improvement for the party related to the ETF implementation. So can you see here what I was trying to say earlier, that your areas of improvement could generate technical capacity, basically capacity building needs. But for developing countries, that may need in the light of their capacities. This is an opportunity for you to identify your capacity building needs. So I think the key objectives, like Jay also said at the beginning, and Sandro reiterated this, it's very important to understand what is the objectives of the TARE, what does it mean to you as developing countries. I would also say, please familiarize yourself with your national experts, your stakeholders, with the overview of the TARE process itself, its scope, its format, and also the format of the TARE, and then the information that is going to be reviewed and application of the relevant flexibility provisions as they apply to your country's special circumstances. It's also important to understand how the TARE relates to the reporting and review processes under the convention, but also with other processes under the Paris Agreement. So, for example, your global stock take. Now, I would also say that it's very important to support your national experts that are willing to take the UNFCCC BTR training courses. And I think I can't emphasize more. I think Sandro already said, be a reviewer. And that is how you build on your experience over time and over the years, and also helps you to inform the processes of collating a BTR report. And then in terms of observations on the common challenges and how countries can address them proactively, I just put this basically based on the experience from the previous processes, but some of it applies to the current process of submitting of the BTRs. At the moment, some of the common observations I've seen over the years, there is limited availability of experts from developing countries to perform, for example, greenhouse gas inventories or to compile the BURs, the national communication reviews. This also translates in the preparation of the BTRs, including the compilation of your greenhouse gas inventory, NDC tracking, projections, mitigation, and so on. So if someone asked us what will be the solution to this, we would say we encourage all experts from developing countries to take the BTR training for both cross-cutting exams, but also one thematic area of your choice. We can't do everything. So it's important to select one area that you want to focus on, and then you try and make sure that at a country level, you have experts, thematic experts for each of these different thematic areas. Of course, the cross-cutting course is the first one that all the experts have to take, and then they choose one thematic area they want to focus on. Again, in terms of observations of challenges, preparation and submissions of BTRs, again, is largely dependent on provision of support. And this has also resulted in some cases to the limited submission of BTRs from some developing countries. Now, we all know that support with preparation of funding proposals is very important. So this may help in the future, but the GEF as an entity that has been designated to be a financial mechanism for the UNFCCC will provide funding upon requests for financial support for developing countries for the preparation of the NCs and BTRs. So I'll continue to say here, please get as much support as you can in preparation for these funding proposals so that you can access GEF funding on time. And then lack of limited technical capacity to prepare BTRs. In some cases, again, this has led to delays in terms of transitioning from BURs to the preparation of BTRs. Now, again, I would say enhance the technical capacity through mechanisms such as the global support programs, CBIT as we know it now, NDC partnerships. There are many regional exchange or knowledge sharing hubs that are there. Make use of them. And then again, peer-to-peer support in terms of reviews is very, very useful. And I know that not just in Asia, but in Africa, in Latin America, countries are beginning to set up these regional hubs, which is a go-to place for regional experts who can go there and say, well, look here, we have common type of emission factors for livestock, for example. Why don't we come up with this and share those share that information? It can be used across the region. So there are many, many ways of overcoming some of these challenges with regards to collecting of data or information on emission factors and so on. some party delegations, again, this is a challenge which we have observed even from the previous process that we had. They've limited human delegations to attend the multilateral assessment, the facility sharing of views. It can be a challenge during COPs because they don't have very big delegates. But again, this is a missed opportunity to exchange information. So I would urge countries that we support the delegations with human resources and build our own national capacity to participate in the COPs, in particular now that we have this similar process for the facilitative multilateral consideration of progress, which takes place at the COPs. So it's still quite similar to the previous one in that there's a multilateral assessment of your thing, which takes place at the COP. Another point I wanted to share is that data collection itself, or data, continues to be a challenge, not just for developing countries, even for some very experienced Annex 1 parties. So it's important that we look at ways of maybe sharing data through use of what we call data sharing agreements. Most of these are done through climate legislations or climate laws or MOUs and so on. So it's important that you mandate formalization of data collection so that when you submit your BTRs, you have as much national data as possible. And then reflections, how the outcomes of yes, I think this one was really to highlight, I think, some of the reflections that already Sandro has shared with us. So it's important that we link the outcomes of the TER with future processes and how we can use these outcomes to make those improvements that we are talking about in terms of identifying areas of improvement. So, but in the spirit of the Paris Agreement, it's important that we recognize that the Paris Agreement is non-punitive, it's non-adversarial. So countries' outcomes from the TER process will inform, for example, the following processes: identification of your capacity building needs, areas of improvement across the thematic areas, support building technical capacity for your national experts. At a personal level, I would say I have learned over the years that doing the exams, doing the courses has helped me in my own work. For example, during the time when I was compiling this as part of the UK, I remember that we basically were encouraged to take the exams so that you understand when you have your in-country reviews, you understand what the reviewers are looking for. But also it's an important way to share examples of best practice across the different thematic areas. So I would strongly encourage all experts to take part in the UNSCC BTR training courses. Yeah, so I think that was my last one.
Thank you.
I can't.
Sekai.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much to summarize your 20 to 25 years experience in 50 minutes. So that was a very best for all of us. And thank you so much for agree and staying here and sharing your experience. So whatever we have left, whatever we have not covered, Sandro and me, all of thing has Sekai has covered very well. So that's the best part of the today's webinar. And so we will open the floor for question and answer. And if you have any specific question to Sekai or anything related to the technical expert review, we are happy to cover that. Simultaneously, I will also put the link of the Mentimeter in the chat box. So I will request all of you to continue this with this webinar. You can also continue to answer some of the question in the Mentimeter. It is a self-paced. Just see the link in the chat box. And yes, Noim, please.
Thanks, Jepal, and thank you, Sekai. Good to see you again. Thanks for sharing your insightful all this experience. I do have one question, and perhaps again, talking on behalf of our Pacific Island countries, as you know, I think you only visited 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago, and I think we're at the varying stage of this, developing the BTR. And then you also clearly highlighted the need for data sharing. But my question is that how do you see that if we actually have a BTR chapter, and then we actually request interagency review, for example, the climate change division or climate change, Cook Island Climate Change Office, if I take them on here as an example, is drafting something and then sharing with other stakeholders in the country, and then they come back with some kind of review questions. Will that be a way to build the internal? I think it's kind of a what is called homegrown experts. That's the word I picked from our colleagues in Cook Island. Is that the way that we could also try the approach? Because it's going to COP, participate all these things, and also going to the training. Perhaps we read our own story by ourselves, and then we bring this in a roundtable discussion that yes, there is something in terms of national circumstances or GST inventory may have, given the wrong way or may not be the right way. So how do you think that approach, especially in the Pacific context? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very good question. I would say first and foremost, if you are going to use an internal QC process to look at work that's been done under another thematic area. So for example, if you're saying the Ministry of Environment is going to be asking another maybe government agency to review certain sections of the BTRs, I think the context remains the same. It's important that whoever reviews the different chapters or subsections of the BTR is familiar with the reporting requirements in the MPGs. In fact, I'm not sure I'm allowed to share the checklist now because it's an internal document for the UNFCCC. I know that during the BUR process, we had, even under the Annex 1 review process, we had an internal checklist. So if you are asking a government agency or another government department to review certain sections or sub-thematic areas of the BTR, using that checklist is very important. If you don't have access to the UNFCCC checklist, which you get during your review week, whether it's centralized in Bonn or in-country review, you can actually just generate a table. What we did with the BUR processes and even with Annex 1 parties, we just generated a Word file which had all the reporting provisions by thematic area on the left-hand side. And then in the other column, it basically says, we can say, has the party fulfilled this shall provision? So for example, has the party submitted a national inventory document and the relevant common reporting tables? If they have done that fully, we just say yes, which means already you have made an assessment that the country has provided a national inventory report and a complete set of a complete set of common reporting tables, if it was the greenhouse gas inventory. And then you do the same for the different chapters of the MPG. So you've got your national, if you remember now, for each chapter of the MPGs in the annex, we have basically annexes, right? First, each section has a national circumstances chapter. So you have national circumstances related to the provision of your greenhouse gas inventories, and the same for NDC tracking, the same for mitigation, and so on. So it's important that whichever government agency is reviewing that particular thematic areas has access to that reporting guidelines. Basically, your MPGs are, in this context, what we are calling our reporting guidelines. Remember, I said when you submit your BTR, we are checking consistency of that information with the relevant reporting provisions. So your shall requirements, your should requirements, your may requirements. And then if ever there is something that is missing and that is mandatory, the technical expert review teams will basically make a recommendation. If you remember in the previous processes, we as lead reviewers or in the ICA processes, we were not allowed to make a recommendation for developing countries. Now, under the ETF, we are required during the technical expert review process to make recommendations if a country has made an omission or has not managed to report a shall provision. So I would just say, even if you are doing your own internal reviews, make use of that checklist that does check the consistency of the reported information with the MPGs, should, shall, may requirements. Yeah, so it's possible to do that, to create these homegrown experts. And I would still encourage them to to take the exams. Like Sandra said, become a reviewer. That's the only way you can participate in this process, not just to benefit your own work, but also to support the other countries in the region. So you end up having a collection of not only national experts, but regional experts who can count on each other to do the QC check of their BTRs.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sekai, for very comprehensively cover the questions of the NOIM and all the necessary information. So as Sandro, as Sekai, both of them have mentioned that you need to become a technical expert reviewer of this BTR. So once you become a doctor, you will better understand what is the disease and how you can cure the disease. So we welcome you and we encourage you to become a part of this process. If you are not, then first step is register under the roster of expert. Once you register, the form will go to your country focal point of your country. Then if once the focal point is approved, you are able to take so many examination, you are ready to be part of this technical expert review process. The next step is you have to choose what area is convenient for you. There is no limitation. You can take one examination. You can take all the 13 examination. These are the 5 areas from the UNFCCC Secretariat. So I am aware specifically there are experts those who have cleared all the 13 examination. So there is no limit. There is no limit to knowledge, no limit to the trying the exams of all this BTR. It is a self-paced. You can there are also the different exam period. You can appear in any of them and try to appear and clear your or everything. You will also experience how reviewers see the reports. You know that how you have prepared, but once you have an eye of the reviewer, you will see the report in a completely different angle, that how this report is prepared, where is the mistake. So once you know that where is the mistake, you will also, when you are preparing, you will avoid this mistake. So that's why this our people, these our expert lead reviewers saying that try to become a part of this expert review process. And these are the dates that already announced for 2025. You can participate in any of them. So once you are part, just start preparing of your subject, whatever is convenient for you. You can also take a 1 through 3 more exams in any period. There is also some second rounds. If you are not clear, then they will also give a chance for the two more chances to clear the exam. So this is also the challenges that shared by the UNFCCC Secretariat. As you all know, and we also heard from the Sekai and Sandro that there are so many things that we have to see. But from the Secretariat, there is also that uncertainty about the resources to perform the additional review. Also the high rate of rejection from the expert because sometimes they are not available. From the developed country also, sometimes they don't have a funding because they have to bear their own expenses. So this is also become a challenges for the Secretariat to create a TERT. The first and main task for the Secretariat is to create a team that will go either through centralized or in-country review. Submission uncertainty in the planning process, challenge in updating the mandated criteria because Secretariat has to maintain the TERT guidelines, maintain the language, maintain the gender, geographic balance, everything. And sometimes the submission of the CRT, CTF are not provided. So this could be also the challenges. Sometimes resubmission also become a challenges because reviewer already did the comment, prepared the question, and country resubmit the some part of the BTR or the CRT or CTR. So this is the some kind of these challenges which are mentioned by the UNFCCC Secretariat. And I think they have also published some kind of communication related to the BTR. You can also visit their website. They are also publishing newsletter, which is already out in the market, and they have a LinkedIn group. They have also the reporting and review website under the UNFCCC. So please take advantage of this. Try to become a part of this technical expert review process. And in the end, we will go through our one of the country, those who have completed the technical expert review. I think the first country from the Asia and Pacific who have completed the technical expert review process. So it will be a different experience for all of us to heard from them that how was the review, what they have feel, what the kind of experience they have, and the good idea. The important point is they are a small island developed country, but they have invited an in-country review and everything. So I am, first of all, I would like to congratulate the Maldives for this very commendable efforts. And I would like to with this invite Miss Fatima Raufa from the Maldives. She has also shared some experience of the BTR preparation in the first webinar, and she agreed to share the experience of the technical expert review. So we are very happy, and we are very delighted to welcome you here in this webinar. And I will move to the give a floor to the Fatima Raufa for this. These are some guiding questions that we have prepared, but you are feel free to share your experience, anything related to the technical expert review, which will be a benefit for all the Asia and Pacific. Yes, Raufa, Miss Raufa, please.
Thank you, Jaipal. Thank you very much. Good to be here, and nice to see you again. See, you have already given out a lot of very important information yourself, Sandro and Mr. Kai as well, covering like a lot of the important points. So I'll just briefly try to share our experience and hope that's a bit helpful in all of the participants, for all of participants. So looking at the first question, our overall, the TER process was a very good experience for the Maldives, having the in-country TER. The UNFCCC Secretariat coordinated very well, and already a lot of details have been said by Sakai and yourself about the time periods in which things happen. So it was like that. We had adequate time. The in-country part was held from 6th to 10th April this year, and the dates were agreed. The team was in place roughly like 10 weeks ahead of time. And then the questions were shared with us ahead of time as well, like 4 weeks before the in-country part. And then we get 2 weeks. And there are some places where we can, if we need, request an additional week. This is one place. If we needed additional time, we could request one additional week for answering questions. So once we sent in the answers, there were some more follow-up questions coming up to the review week as well as during the review week. And the questions that were raised during the review week, we get another 2 weeks to post in the written answers on the platform that they share. And then by the end of the in-country part, we have already received a draft report from the TERT on our capacity building needs that have already been identified. And then we are expecting to exchange some comments until the end of early July. And then by the early August, we expect the report to be finalized. And then the initial steps that we took was that we got in contact with our technical experts. As the developing SIDS, the GHG inventory and the NDC tracking were reviewed, and we had two key external experts who were involved in the development of these two chapters. So in addition to the relevant members of the climate change department of the ministry, we ensured that their availability as well, and our internal team's availability as well. And then, of course, there are some logistical arrangements on working space and meeting space. These were communicated well ahead of time, and we prepared those. We had 5 persons visiting us. There are 5 experts, but one of the experts were not able to travel, so we coordinated virtually. He was in the UK, and the time difference was a bit challenging, but we navigated through that, and we had one person from the UNFCCC Secretariat as well. So 5 members traveled for the in-country review. And then to look at the second question on how we managed the response to questions that were raised by the technical expert review team. We tried establishing clear internal processes, identifying who will be in charge of putting in the handling the portal that was given through which the questions are given to us. And then once the questions are received, we identified who will be doing the initial drafting. And then we had a process by which we engaged with a wider team and to go through the answers to make sure they align and whether they were in for correctness and alignment with the rest of the report. And then we tried to provide clear references in the BTR, and sometimes we provided additional supporting documents also while providing the responses to the questions of the TR. If we were to look at a specific technical area and how we handled that during the review, one area is on completeness. So for example, in Maldives, right, some of the categories that are reported as not estimated with NE. For example, in Maldives, the LULUCF is not estimated. But under completeness, it was raised and that there is a requirement to report inventory with and without LULUCF. So we cannot do that because we put NE for the LULUCF. But having them in country gave us an opportunity to go very well into detail about why the rationale behind the use of the notation key NE. And it was acknowledged as well from the technical experts on the use that is fine, but the review facilitated constructive discussions on how to improve on this completeness issue, like, for example, through the use of scoping calculations and such. So having them in country enabled us I feel like we had additional opportunity for capacity building and figuring out how to improve on this area. Looking at lessons learned from the review. So I think it's been widely mentioned that the capacity building needs get identified through the TR process, and this is very important and this is very helpful for us, especially as a developing country. We have a lot of room for improvement, and it's not only the reporting under the climate agreement, but also that this information is very useful when making our developmental policies and strategies as well. So identifying capacity building needs is really important. And also through the TER process, the capacity of the national team was enhanced as well in transparency matters, in understanding and picking up more on the shall requirements, the should and the may requirements as well. And then also that this point on transparency, like how we present our information and getting tips on how we can be more transparent about something which we are already reporting. So that was also very important. Also having the review in country enabled us to have face-to-face exchanges with the national team and the technical expert reviewers. So these exchanges allowed for direct and very honest dialogue on our methodologies and data constraints and institutional processes. So it was very useful in clarifying some of our assumptions in addition to what is already there in the report. And then it enabled to work jointly identifying areas for improvement and capacity building. And it also provided an opportunity to share contextual information that is difficult sometimes to capture in the report. Like, for example, we discussed how waste disposal practices in the Maldives, we reported primarily as open burning. And therefore, currently, there are no methane accumulations. But at the same time, we're expecting this to change in the next reporting because some of the practices have changed. And so we are also we have reported an ongoing work on the waste to energy facility. So how these align and these kind of exchanges help to align our reporting with on the ground realities while the TER process was ongoing. For the last point, the key advice that I would say, mainly there are three. One is to focus on internal institutional arrangements for the TER process, identify who will be responsible and how wide a team will be engaged with the TER team, and how to ensure alignment with the different areas of information that is provided in the BTR report. And then secondly, the third will ask for details on the report. So it's very important to ensure that the experts who can provide the details and the decisions that were made during the reporting to be available during the process. Also, it's important to note that it's not only during the week itself, if we're considering the in-country, like not during the week itself, but also a little bit prior, so that when questions are received and then also to be available a bit after, if you anticipate their inputs during the finalization of the capacity building requirements report. And then finally, I'd say take the TER process as an opportunity. The third consists of very experienced experts, and we had very fruitful, very open engagement with them. So they can help us in identifying as well as detailing out the different capacity building needs and the different technical aspects that need improvement. So I'd say use it as an opportunity. I think that's all from my side.
Yeah, thank you, Rafa, for the very comprehensive information in a very short time. I think you have beautifully captured that this technical expert review process, specifically in country, will definitely help all the countries. to improve their reporting, understand the where they are lacking, where they need to improve, whether their improvement plan is matching with the capacity building needs identified by themselves, plus the capacity building identified by the technical expert review team. So in summarize this our webinar, I think the sustainable team, the team, those who are preparing the reports, they need to be present when the review exercise start till the end of the review exercise, because they are the best person who can answer all the questions of the secretariat. So this is the must thing, that your team should be sustainable and they should stay at least from start to end, and if possible then also for the future BTRs. And once the kind of the capacity building needs, kinds of completeness, transparency issue, encouragement, recommendation has been put it in our technical expert review report, we have to address this in the second BTR. Otherwise, the same kind of recommendation will go through the second BTR report also, third also, fourth also. So our BTR processes need to be continuous improvement process. And the good thing is that once you involve, you will also know that these are the areas where we are lacking in terms of capacity buildings, in terms of technical knowledge, in terms of anything. So I think this could be also synced with this technical expert review exercise result, that these are the area where you need to be improved in the future. And of course, there are also different kind of support available to help you in that particular areas or particular things that we are not able to provide clearly. So with this, I think I also have some few slides, but this is just a summary of our today's discussion, that how you can improve the country reporting. The best thing is that whatever data that you are reporting, it should be a completely enhanced, reliable, transparent. Increase the transparency as much as you can, so you will receive a lesser number of questions from the reviewer. All of the people, those who are involved in the BTR, all of the people who are involved in the technical expert review, you need to be aware about the decision 18 CMA1 MPG guideline. This is the kind of a Bible for all of us. We have to read each para of that. We need to understand why we are doing this, why we are reporting in a particular format. And what we see from the country, it's completely different under the BC, that there are so many problems, not for each country, but all of the countries. There are so many technical difficulties, stakeholder engagement with different people, long-term planning, systematic issues. These are just example. We have a different difficulties, different problems for all the country. But the someone or areas that see the attention is the BTR, but there are different things that we need to be focused. And the consistency, main idea of our reporting, that you should to be prepared how you can for the review week. So same like you are focusing on the BTR, you also need to focus on the review. So you can have a paper preparation, proactive clarification that these are the area that we have not reported properly. So we will definitely receive a question, because as Kai mentioned, we have a checklist. So once we go through this checklist, we will automatically identify that this is the area where country is lacking or country has not provided the information. And also do the open dialogue with the reviewer. Reviewer is not like some kind of auditors that they are doing. They are here in our country to help us to try to understand and improve your knowledge, also share your experience. So they can also share the best result that will be a best for you, considering your country situation. So in-country review is definitely helpful for all the countries, and specifically for the first BTR, go for the in-country review. And the capacity building needs. So the main idea of this, all the exercise of you consider maybe a 1 or 1.5 year or 2 years of the exercise of BTR preparation. Then this 7 to 8 months is just for the technical expert review. So from the time you can also understand how it is important. So the technical expert review process also main idea is to identify the capacity building needs. You have already identified when you prepare this, you have already put it in the improvement plan. But this technical expert review process try to identify the capacity building needs, and not only identify, you can go in detail for this each of the identify. Maybe you can prioritize all the your capacity building needs and go one by one in the each capacity building, and you can improve. Maybe in a third or fourth BTR, you are in a better position to report everything transparent, accurate, reliable, and consistent. So that's the story of the our today's webinar, and here is our small team in the Copenhagen which are ready to support you. So let me stop sharing, and I have also shared the link in the chat box of the Mentimeter. I have already received the responses. So let me quickly show you the result of the Mentimeter also. So we have most of the people from the government. That's a good thing that this webinar is for you only. 83 people are from the government, and in the next question we have asked about the how familiar are you with. So maybe this webinar will help you a little bit, and we can see there are 42% are slightly familiar and 33% are moderately familiar. And main objective to attend this webinar is to understand the technical expert review process. Hope that our webinar helps you. And on the information, what do you think the biggest challenge is? And we can see that lack of the capacity building support. Yeah, and CBIT GSP is here, and all the other peoples, those who are uh, supporting all the countries in Asia and Pacific. We are happy to support you in all the way we can. And I can also see the inventory and NDC tracking. Also, the two mandatory parts of the technical expert review is the challenge for the countries. Yeah, and I think the law, yes, here. And what further capacity building needs support do you think is most needed to improve the country's readiness for this technical expert review process? So the depth of the review area of focus, trying to cater the request, especially as a new small team. Yes, funding to support the BTR. Yes, support capacity building in the BTR, and in terms of data quality, accuracy, consistency. Yeah. So for the like, if I am the reviewer currently, I am doing the review of the Singapore, and my main objective is to see the transparency and completeness. And I have a checklist. I will follow all this checklist to see that whether Singapore is completely reported or not. So even I can say Singapore has submitted 5 national communication, 5 BUR. This is the first BTR. Even that I will also find some information which are not reported transparently. Of course, they have this data, but not in the BTR or not in the NID. So this will automatically become a question to the country, and once I raise, they will also maybe include in the second BTR. So that you need to understand that MPG para, all the para on the MPG, you need to understand why you are preparing a report, what kind of information you need to be included in the BTR. At least the minimum mandatory things. Where there is a no flexibility, you shall include that. If there is a flexibility, you can take the flexibility that available to you. And last one is the feedback. Thank you so much for the good feedback to all of us. It will really motivate us. And with this, I think we can conclude the today's webinar. If you have any question, we are happy to cover. And let me start my closing speech. If there is no question, I will wait for 1 or 2 minutes. So I believe this our today's session was very informative, and I would like to, from the CBIT GSP, would like to express our sincere gratitude to each of you for your participation and discussion today. We have covered something substantial today regarding the technical expert review process, and the speaker that we have also provided some valuable insight from the both side, from the reviewer and the review perspective. So we have learned that the technical expert review is not something to fear or something to scare, but rather an opportunity for the continuous improvement and capacity building. So this is basically like a mirror that is show you things that yourself you might not be able to see otherwise. So we all are learning. growing together in this new reporting landscape. And this BTR and technical expert review may be a new process, but they will be built on years of collective experience in climate change reporting. So I encourage all of you to continue this conversation beyond today's webinar. Connect with each other, share the resources, and the CBGSP team is also here to support you in any way to prepare both your BTR and also the review, technical expert review process. So with this, I think we can conclude the session, and thank you once again to our excellent speaker, Sandro and Sekai, for sharing their expertise, and also Ms. Fatima Rafa for sharing the experience of the in-country review, and all of you for your engagement. So let us return to our BTR preparation. Those who have submitted BTR1, you can continue BTR2, and those who are nearly submitting the BTR1, all the best. And so best way to prepare for the review is to simply to do your best work and document it very well properly. So we will receive a very less question and our review process is very easy. So thank you all, and I look forward to our continued collaboration in the near future with Asia and Pacific. With this, I am concluding. Thank you so much for the joining today's webinar. Any last word from Noi?
Thank you, Jepal. I think I would like to thanks our colleagues from the Pacific. It's a time difference was a challenge, but nevertheless, it's the first one, and I believe that we'll have more these sessions in future. Thank you, Sekai. Thank you, Sandro, as well, and thank you, Fatima Rafa, for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.